Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Modeseven, the show where we play games and talk about them. I'm your host, Sergmanx, and joining me once again is the infamous Monkey Man.
Hey, what's going on, Sergman? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Monkey Man?
Good. Not too pleased that we're up early in the morning re-recording this one.
Yeah, that was my error. I set the wrong microphone, and we had the worst. Well, not we, me.
Yeah.
I had the worst.
Yeah, don't drag me into this.
I had the worst audio quality, and I'm so pissed off because we had such an organic, genuine conversation, especially when I thought you were gonna really dig this game.
Yeah. Let me play that old intro that we recorded last night right now.
Well, where to even begin? Dude, this game sucks.
Really?
Dude.
I thought the same thing, but I was like, I didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I thought you liked it. You told me to play this, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play it. And then, like, stage one, I'm like, oh my god, this game sucks. I wanted to stop.
Dude, I'm thinking like, dude, this game's pretty good. I was about to tell you this game is trash. No way. Yeah, so Dragon Ball Z, Legacy of Goku. Wow, dude. Yikes.
Yeah. It's just there. In the beginning, I really didn't like it. The first thing that turned me off to it were the wolves in the beginning. Like, they were just so hard. It was. You could only punch them. You could do some key blasts at them, but it didn't really do too much. And you can't block. You can't run away. It was just like, it was. They were so overpowered that I was just like, in the first like 10, 15 minutes of the game, I was going to text you and be like, dude, I don't want to play this one anymore.
Honestly, like, I was shocked. I'm thinking like you were going to enjoy the game. You as someone who's not a hardcore gamer, you love Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
I figured this might be a great game for you, but I clearly was wrong and underestimated your taste in gaming, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I appreciate the experience, and the game did grow on me. I ended up playing the game twice, and there were some things that I liked about it. I like how you start at Roshi's Island, which is where you start in Dragon Ball Z with Raditz and, Piccolo, and like they all start coming there. And I like how the characters look. I like that you do face a multitude of different bosses that you do face in the series, like Nappa, Vegeta, Frieza, the Ginyu Force, just a whole bunch of people.
Yes, the art style definitely captures their looks very well, aside from the pretty bad portrait arts when the character speaks, especially some of the civilians you run into. So our dreadful journey begins on Roshi's Island, and our first task is to gather porn.
Yep, it's something that Roshi is quite familiar with.
Yes, and the fact that he just has all these magazines laid out when he knew he was having company over, such as Gohan, who's a little boy.
Yeah.
Very inconsiderate of Roshi.
Yeah.
Then moving along, you talk to Krillin, you talk to Bulma, see what they're up to. And then out of nowhere, Raditz just appears, and it's not even a special appearance. They didn't do anything to transition his arrival very well. It was just he just showed up.
Yeah.
Almost like you're copy and pasting like a picture into like editing software.
Right.
Or like a paragraph into somewhere else. Very lazy.
Mm-hmm.
So Raditz shows up, tells Goku he's a Saiyan, and Goku's like, "Well, what's a Saiyan?"
Yeah.
You've grown up. Ah! I recognize you, though, Kakarot. Kakarot?
But I like that about the series, that it takes you through it from Goku's perspective, and as Goku is learning things, you get to learn it as well. So it's like a mystery thing that kind of grabs you in.
Yeah, absolutely. At least this game attempts to follow at least the first couple sagas of DBZ.
Yeah.
So after we find out about Goku's history, I guess with Raditz, we leave. Goku calls the Flying Nimbus, and if this was the show, we'd go directly to Raditz after Piccolo aligned with us, because in Dragon Ball they were villains, not villains. They were
enemies.
They were enemies.
Yeah.
So Goku, instead of Goku going to where Raditz is, he goes back home for whatever reason. And this is where you really see how bad the game is.
Yeah, this is the part that turned me off.
So you fight these snakes and wolves. The snakes aren't too bad. You could just fire a ki blast at them from afar. No big deal. But these wolves, not only are they faster than you, but they inflict a lot of damage. And I think in the beginning of the game, I died quite a couple of times to these wolves.
Yeah, I really did too. And that's the thing. Like you said, they're quicker than you, so you can't get away. There's no blocking mechanism in the game at all. And then, the ki blasts were terrible. The punching was really slow, which is something that I mentioned in episode 1, Cheeky Boys, that you made fun of me for, that you could swing the sword really fast. And, my point was that every time you hit the button, you would swing the sword. Whereas in this game, you could hit the punch button 5 times, but it'll only punch once because there's like a cooldown and he could only punch once per second. So it was like, there's no combos when you punch. It's just so basic.
It's very, very basic to the point where the combat becomes extremely repetitive right from the beginning.
Yeah.
There's no variation in Goku's moveset. He learns a couple of new abilities later on, but it doesn't really change the game too much.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
The biggest issue is just not being able to dodge attacks.
Yeah. And then, you have these little guys, like you said, the snakes, to help you, level up and things like that. And then later on, the crabs, they were a decent amount of points. One thing I do like about the game, a lot actually, is that you could hit the start menu. And once you go there, it tells you, how many experience points you have, how many until you need to level up again. So, that's pretty cool. So, after you kill an enemy, you could see, it raised me by 5 points, which I think were the snakes. And, so you get a hang of, is this guy worth killing or not?
See, this game is a action RPG of sorts, and out of all the mechanics that they decided to utilize, I'm surprised they only stopped at that, because it's very common in these RPGs where you can see, I need X amount of experience points until the next level. So at least that's there. I feel like they should have did a lot more.
Yeah.
I do also like you can gain experience points just by talking to certain characters. So you'll see Yamcha and Por, Tien and Chaozu.
Mm-hmm.
You just by simply speaking with them, you'll get experience points.
Yeah. And starting in those earlier levels, I think it's low. It's only 500 points, but it's for not doing much. And then later on, I think you get more points for doing other things. But I do like that when you go through the forest here, there's the little quests of finding the pterodactyl egg and placing the stones. And I like that you do run into Yamcha and Tien, Chaozu, Puar, all of them. So it's kind of cool just to see them, knowing them from the series and then seeing them in the game.
Definitely. Now, as we navigate through the forest, you go into this house, and there's this old guy, and for some reason he has a skeleton of a dinosaur of some sort. He tells you that the forest needs to be at rest. So by doing these quests, and this is really the only time where the side quests are mandatory. You have to find his cat. There's this boy who has his boat on an island. It's not even an island, it's just a patch of grass that he could easily just hop over and get to.
Yeah.
This old guy who's also trapped on a patch of grass, but you need stones to make a pathway.
Yeah.
Just that stuff was...
And the flowers, you had to get flowers for someone to get
you had to get the flowers. It was...
I didn't know what the stones were for the first time. I played the game twice, and even the second time I picked up 2 stones instead of 1, but then I had to look up what it was for.
Yeah.
So it wasn't they never told you what the stones or anything were for. It was never a laid out mission. This is what you had to do. You just kind of had to wander around and figure it out, I guess.
And I think you were telling me too, you ran into a glitch. You couldn't land on the little patch of grass to get the kid's boat.
Yeah, I had to try that a few times, and then I reset the game and I put it down, and then a few days later I tried it again, and I was trying to get on that island from different angles, and for some reason it just wasn't work. But then one time it did work. So I'm not sure if it's just like the fly mechanism. Like, it's weird how you had to turn it on and off, or if like I was just having issues because I was playing a ROM and maybe there was a bug in it.
Oh, yes. That brings me to something I completely forgot about. The flying mechanic. The flying mechanic is awful.
Yeah.
I think it would have been better instead of collecting these orbs with the little feather on it.
Yeah.
Or wing, whatever it was. If it would recharge over time. And I do like when you level up, you can fly longer. But still, collecting these orbs was very tedious, especially if you just quickly want to fly somewhere.
Yeah, because in the beginning, man, you only had like 2 seconds of fly time. And I didn't realize at first that you could fly up ridges and stuff like that. Like, it didn't say, there was no introduction to flying or where you could fly or how to use it.
Yeah.
And the orbs, I do like that the orbs, there were pretty frequently, though. Those with the herbs, like, you would see them enough. And, like, if you went to a different screen or a different scene or whatever, then the things would replenish. So, you could grind and get those. Or there was also, like, a lot of good level grinding opportunities in the game because you could just, like, kill some enemies, go to the next screen, go back, and then kill them and level up pretty easily.
I wish the game has some sort of currency. So if you like defeated a wolf or a snake or whatever you fought, the crab, it would drop some money.
Yeah.
And then you can
Some
go
zenny.
to zenny. You can go to a merchant and buy some additional items, maybe something that makes Goku a little bit stronger for a set amount of time. Or even like, using like the power pole or something.
Oh, that'd be cool, yeah.
Or the ability to use Nimbus in more unique ways. I mean, because Nimbus only showed up in the beginning.
Right, and technically in this part of the show where he's at, he didn't know how to fly anyway. So it's like, you start the game on Nimbus just for like a cutscene, but then you go to this part where now he could fly and he's getting fly power you gotta collect. But he didn't know how to fly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which was very, very weird.
Yeah.
So after we do these quests for the old guy, the dinosaur skeleton, the mouth, it glows. And for some reason, I don't know why he would have that in his house to begin with, but whatever. Or Goku could have just simply, took his Nimbus and flew over that old guy's house. Like, look, I gotta save my son.
Right.
I don't care about helping these people.
Right.
So we get to Raditz, Piccolo and Gohan. So Piccolo, just like the show, he says, we're gonna fight him together. Except he doesn't. He just paces around while Raditz, fights you 1v1.
Yeah. And like you said last time when we were recording this, it's like you don't even get away from Raditz. Like, as soon as he's done talking, like, he sucker punches you. It's like you don't even get a chance to run away or anything.
Right off the bat, he just gives you a nice punch, and like they could have had that conversation maybe like 6 feet apart, and then the battle would just start, instead of being right up in his face.
Yeah, it's weird that like with all the enemies, you need to talk to them and then they battle you. Very similar to Pokemon, I guess. How like you need to go up to someone and be right on them and talk to them. Whereas like, although sometimes in Pokemon for Game Boy, there's some enemies where if you just cross their path, like they'll stop you and they'll see you and they'll walk up to you. So yeah, like you're saying with like a 6 foot distance or something, that's not something that's completely new to video games that they could have put that in there.
So at that point, my strategy was just to fly away from him, fire some ki blasts, and just rinse and repeat. And I think at that point you have access to the solar flare.
Yes, you learn the solar flare from the old man, which is quite interesting because Goku never learned solar flare in the series. He never needed it. It was only for weaklings like Krillin, which
yes.
Krillin's strong for just being a regular human of Earth. Obviously Goku, he's an alien, but
right.
Like that's just, it's never anything that Goku learned how to do.
So it wasn't until later in the game I realized you can charge the solar flare and then the amount of time they don't move is longer. So I would just I would press the button, he would stay frozen for a couple seconds. Sometimes I get a couple punches in and then walk away. It wasn't until later I realized how broken this ability is. It's the lamest ability in the anime is the best ability in this game.
Right. You absolutely need it. I wouldn't have been able to beat this game without that ability. And, it's like the thing I do like about it is that you don't need to be facing the enemy. So, like, the point of Solar Flare is to blind the enemy, and it's a huge flash of light. So, like, it gives you a few seconds to get away or whatever. It kind of disorientates your enemy.
Right.
But in this, I like that you don't have to be facing them to get it in their eyes. Like, you could be facing any direction, and they could be anywhere in the screen. As long as you see them, even if they're not chasing you at that time, it will still work on them, and it will still freeze them.
Yeah, exactly. So that was definitely a very handy and useful ability.
Yes. Although one of my biggest gripes about this game is that you can't charge your attack and move at the same time. So it's like what is with that? Like, how come I can't have a ki blast charged up and then, like, at least even if I can't move, like, let me be able to change direction with it, like, it's just, so then, like, you could have either your ki blast or later the Kamehameha wave or, the solar flare charged up, and then the enemy, like, switches his course and then comes behind you or something, and then it's like, okay, now I just wasted the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a very... Like, that would have made the combat a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I think maybe more strategic in a sense. Because now you can, okay, I'm going to walk away from an enemy or a boss. I'm going to charge this, maybe fly over, and then from the other side and unleash the attack,
Yeah, because a lot of the time I also felt like I was just kind of waiting around because I'm like, all right, now I got to stand here and wait for my ki meter to charge back up before I do anything. So I'm just kind of like standing around out of screen of any enemies, just waiting for the meter to fill up. The one thing that I do like about this part in the game is, again, it is pretty similar to the series where, Piccolo does come in finally and Goku grabs Raditz from behind and Piccolo says, he's going to hit him with the special beam cannon, and he does, and it ends up killing Goku and Raditz.
Special beam cannon!
Yeah, that was pretty show accurate. And then we head to one of my most hated areas of the game. We get the Snake Way. Now, it's not necessarily Snake Way that I despise. It's when you fall off Snake Way. But before we get to that, Snake Way it could have been designed a lot better.
Yeah.
It was all coiled, like Snake Way isn't like coiled up. Like almost like a maze. It's a straight path, Yeah. So, and we didn't talk about this last time, but did you fight? And I forgot her name.
Oh yeah, I did fight her. I didn't know if you had to fight her or not. I guess you could have flown past her, but yeah, I fought everyone I could just to try to level up sooner.
Yeah, I fought her, got some experience points, but you could have probably skipped her entirely.
Yeah, probably. I do like the way that the head of the snake looks, and I like that the clouds are in the background under Snake Way as well, because that's how it was in the series.
Yeah.
And then he falls off, and like, I don't like that part because in the game it just says I'm losing my balance and he just falls. Like, what? How random.
Yeah, especially you're walking in the middle of Snake Way. Right, even if he did fall and lose his balance, he wouldn't fall off Snake Way.
Yeah. So, in the series, he's either on he's taking a nap on the back of either a street cleaner or some type of vehicle. And I don't know if the vehicle hits a pothole or a rock, or I don't know what happens, but he ends up falling off of that.
Yeah.
And he goes into HFIL, the Home for Infinite Losers. But I do like, again, that there is like a little cut screen in here with a still image, and it shows the car in it there, and Snake Way looks pretty curved, and it shows him falling into the clouds.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? Another thing I would have liked, he has a halo at this point. Like, why couldn't they put a halo above his character on Snake Way?
Oh, wow. Good point. I didn't even think about that. That's a huge oversight.
Yeah, like that would have been easy enough to add, I would assume.
Yeah. But again, they were they were lazy with a lot of elements.
Yeah.
This game is evident of that.
Yeah.
And this part of the game sucked.
Yeah. It was just pointless. So once you get into HFIL, you have a couple of quests that you need to do. You need to fight these cloud spirits, and you need to, after talking to one ogre, you find out that there are a few spirits that you need to bring back to him. It turns out there are 3 spirits you got to bring back to him. And then there's also the Red Devil there, which you need to catch. Well, you need to catch him in the series, but in the game, you don't actually end up chasing him or anything.
Right. They're protecting King Yema's mystical fruit.
Yeah.
So Goku completes the task for the one ogre, and he in turn distracts the other ogres from Goku getting the fruits so that he can escape.
So after you accomplish getting the 3 spirits and bringing it back to the first guy, the blue guy, then he lowers a barrier that was around the tree. And now once the barrier is down, that allows you to go in there and then grab a piece of fruit, which would trick the red ogre.
Right, to letting Goku return to Snake Way, except it's at the beginning of Snake Way.
Right, yeah, you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
But this time it's much faster because you have a lot more flying power, and you get to kind of like jump around and fly around and skip sections.
Right, which is great. But then when I got to the end of Snake Way, it took me 1 or 2 tries to find King Kai's planet, because you don't actually really get a good view of it, especially depending on the way you come to the head of the Snake Way.
Yeah, it was pretty confusing for me. I was like, where do I go now? And it's saying like his planet's off to the left. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So we land on King Kai's planet, and just like the show, we have to chase Bubbles around until we catch him.
Mm-hmm.
And then hit Gregory with the hammer.
Yeah.
Now, that part in the show was cool. It showed some training for Goku, but in the game,
I liked
it was bad only because of the controls and how Goku moves. And it was just a very tedious part of the game.
Yeah, it was pretty tedious. I did kind of enjoy it, though, maybe because I did have flashbacks of the show. And, one thing I'm surprised about this is that he didn't learn Spirit Bomb after this, and he didn't learn Kaioken, but he did learn the Kamehameha Wave, which, he was taught the Kamehameha Wave early on by Master Roshi in the series. So, this whole part kind of didn't make sense after you passed it.
And then the Kamehameha Wave isn't even blue. It's like yellow, orange.
Yeah.
And it's the worst attack in the game.
Well, so I ended up liking it after you get to level 17, 18, 19, 20, around there. You max out at level 25 in this game, but at higher levels it became useful.
I just felt like every time I used the attack, it would look like it hit the enemy, but it would go through them and nothing actually happened, so I stopped using it.
Yeah. It was like it couldn't shoot it far enough or something. I don't know. That was kind of lame. I didn't like that either, but I did like how after he shot it, when it was mostly fully charged, he would say Kamehameha. That was kind of cool.
Now, if I remember correctly, in the show, when they gathered the Dragon Balls to revive Goku, he had to leave King Kai's planet, go back through Snake Way to get back to King Yema, so that he can leave. Here, he's just wished back from King Kai's planet.
Yeah. We see him on Kami's lookout.
Yeah, he just shows up at Kami's lookout. You're only there for a couple seconds. You talk to Kami, Mr. Popo.
Yeah. If you talk to Mr. Popo and Kami, they give you a sensu bean.
And then you leave. And then you're in this icy snow area where there's more wolves and some dinosaurs. So after navigating through the city, you fight some bank robbers.
Yeah.
Which was okay,
that never happened. The only thing is in the series, Krillin became a cop, but other than that, come on.
Right.
What's Goku wasting his time like that?
So you go through this military base area, nothing happens there. Yeah. And then you arrive to where Vegeta and Nappa is. And everybody's dead except for Krillin and Gohan. And once the same thing with the Raditz fight, it's basically no difference in the battle. All these boss fights are the same.
Yeah.
You defeat Nappa, and the same thing happens with Vegeta.
Yeah.
A missed opportunity they could have done was you fight the Great Ape when Vegeta transforms.
Yeah.
Eventually the fight ends. Goku says something like, "Oh, he's too strong. I can't beat him." And then Yajirobe comes. First Gohan comes and transforms. He like basically beats up Vegeta, and then Yajirobe comes, cuts the tail off.
Yeah. And at least that was pretty accurate to the show. Although I think in the show, like Goku or someone else like kind of blinded Vegeta in one eye when he was the Ozaru Ape. But I do like that it shows him transforming in this. I think that was cool. I enjoyed seeing the Ozaru Ape in it. And I like how it had a little picture cutscene in there. And it was talking about the blood sway or whatever they called it, the orb that the Saiyans were able to make to create an artificial moon.
Although moonlight is a natural source of blood's wave power, it is not the only way to form this energy. There is another way. We discovered a way to artificially create our own moonlight. We can make a synthetic moon complete with blood's waves anytime and anywhere we want to.
That would have been a great opportunity for Goku to learn to use his new ability he learned from Genkai, the Spirit Bomb.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
Yeah, it wasn't even in the game.
Yeah.
Although in the show too, like that attack was kind of a disappointment because like how many people did they actually like defeat with the Spirit Bomb? Vegeta escaped the Spirit Bomb. There were most of the times that it was used, like it didn't even actually kill the enemy. So
well, he killed Majin Buu or Kid Buu with the Spirit Bomb. And I think a couple of enemies in Dragon Ball GT. So after the fight, Vegeta escapes. We had the planet Namek. We're going to look for it would have been cool if we could track down the Namekian Dragon Balls.
yeah.
But that doesn't happen.
No, instead you're stuck looking for saplings, like for trees to repopulate the
yeah.
planet Namek. First of all, I don't know. That kind of blew over my head trying to get these saplings. And then after you go back and speak with whatever Namekian guy asks you to do that quest, you go to him. And, like, I had 3 of them already. And he's like, there's still more. So I'm, like, searching for more forever. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't realize you had to plant the trees.
You did? See, after he said that, I gave up. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. I think I ended up looking it up. But I'm like,
oh, wow.
Like, why wouldn't he just say, like, okay, now they had to be planted? Like, so here I am just searching for more of them.
Yeah. Oh, that makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That's awful.
Yeah.
So then we go into this temple, which is the worst part of the game, in my opinion. It was just so confusing to navigate. And if you went on the wrong teleporter, it would take you to the beginning of the temple.
Yeah, it was confusing. It reminded me of Diglett's Cave in Pokemon for Game Boy. I couldn't find my way at all.
Yeah, this man couldn't find his way through a straight line.
Man, it was more complex than that. It wasn't just a straight line. It was in the dark.
It was not in the dark.
Oh, that was the other one where you had to use Flash.
Yes.
Well, whatever. It still gave me a hard time, and I had flashbacks, and it gave me PTSD playing this one. Although I did like the music the best in the Namekian Temple here than anywhere else in the game.
It had a good track. I'll give it that. Like the music for this game was not that bad, to be honest.
Yeah. And then like there were quite a few hidden places that you had to go through in the temple, and there were like these statues of fingers and hands and with pointing fingers that led you to some secret passages. And yeah, I definitely, as soon as I stepped in there, I knew it was going to be an issue, and I'm like, look, I just want to have fun playing this game, or at least try to. And I don't want to try to search around this temple forever. So as soon as I stepped in there, I'm like, I'm just going to look it up. And, you had to collect these artifacts, but I didn't collect 2 of them from outside of the temple. I didn't realize that's what I had to do. So I went into the temple. I looked that part up. I collected the 1 artifact inside the temple, but then when you go to the place to place them, you needed the 3, and I didn't have the other 2. So I was like, oh, great. I didn't even know how to get out of the temple. I didn't know it was as simple after like however much time I spent walking around looking for the right teleporter to get out, what you actually had to do, if you're just at like the home screen of that temple, the first part when you're in there, all you had to do is walk out. It would bring you back to Namek. I was like, oh, okay. And then like after that, again, I looked up like how to get these other artifacts, and then I collected the other two.
Yeah, eventually I got to a point, because I tried to do it without a guide, but I got to a point where I just got frustrated, and I looked up a walkthrough.
Yeah.
So after we make it out of the temple, now we fight the Ginyu Force.
Yes.
And in the show, it was awesome. In the game, it was the same fight as Vegeta, Nappa, Raditz. He only fought like, what, 4 of them.
He fought Berta, Jace, Raccoon, and Captain Ginyu.
And I just, at this point, I was like, when can I fight Frieza and be done with the game?
Oh, okay. See, like, I kind of like this part. It was cool to me because, like, all right, as you're saying, yeah, like, it's just another boss fight. There's nothing special about it. It's the same moves, the same sucker punches, like, whatever. Although, like, you know, I was looking out for the sucker punches this time. But to me, you know, again, like, going back to the series, I like to see the consistency here. And one of my favorite parts in the series was, well, training to come on the way to Namek, where you're in that capsule with that special gravity in there, and he was training in 100 times gravity by accident, and like that was awesome. So like once he showed up in the series on planet Namek, and he was like so fast, he was unbeatable, and like he took out Raccoon like he was nothing, and then you know, he was facing Berta and Jace, and like he was so fast that like they're shooting ki blasts, and it looks like it's going through him, and you know, everyone's like, oh, dodge it, but like he's just standing there and they don't know what's going on, and then like he's dodging their attacks as they're like flying towards him, but he's so fast you don't even see him move. But if you look at the grass, you see it matted down to the left and the right, so he did move that fast, and Vegeta was the one to pick up on that, and no one else really got it.
So after the Ginyu Force, we pretty much are at the end game. We fight a bit of Frieza's minions.
Yeah.
And then we get to Frieza's ship.
Mm-hmm. And the henchmen, at least, like, you know, towards that point in the series, some of the guys earlier on, some of his earlier henchmen will give you like 10,000 experience points, but then the henchmen later on, they're like 30,000 experience points each.
So it's definitely a good spot to grind and level up in preparation for the final fight. So we get to Frieza's ship. Vegeta says to go in the rejuvenation chamber, and Goku goes there, and at that point you're locked into the final battle. Once you go in there, you have to proceed to to Frieza.
Right.
So if like I said, if you want to grind, don't go in there. So we get to Frieza himself, and this is where the game really missed out on a big opportunity. In the show, Vegeta was near death, tells Goku about the Saiyans, why Frieza's a monster, why he can't show him compassion like he showed some of the other people Goku has fought.
Yeah, including himself.
Exactly. And then Frieza kills Vegeta.
Yeah. And I really like that part in the series too, because it's like, you know, Goku is so bad. This is one of the first times you see like this telekinesis, where it's like he just like with his eyes he angrily looked at the ground and like made a burial plot for Vegeta to be buried in.
The fact that the game overlooks Vegeta's death was disappointing. When you show up, he's already dead. It's always just Gohan and Krillin just somehow they're just walk like, oh man, you finally came, you know?
Yeah. Welcome to the party, bro.
So what makes this Frieza fight, I guess, a little bit different than the other boss fights, while he doesn't do anything truly unique, it's still basically the same fight. At least you get to fight all his different forms.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I like the way that they made one of his forms with the big head look pretty realistic, and that added a little bit more time to the fight with Frieza, which was similar to the series too, because when Goku fought Frieza in the series, that was the longest anime fight ever aired.
Yes, it's actually, that fight with Goku and Frieza in the anime is longer than this entire game.
Wow, yeah, you know what? That's a really good point, actually. That was a long fight. I remember watching that on TV. I was in like 7th grade, and I'm like, man, this is like going on forever. Then the part where Goku turned Super Saiyan, like I felt so hyped just watching that as like a kid.
Oh yeah, definitely. They have the scene where Krillin gets killed, and then Goku transforms, and he says, "Oh, I've become a Super Saiyan," which is funny because in the anime, Goku at least heard about the Super Saiyan at various points in the Namekian saga. Vegeta references Super Saiyan, and everything. Here, Goku's never heard the term Super Saiyan. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a Super Saiyan now." And at least the background looks pretty cool in that final fight.
Yeah, it's got the lava going on. It's got like some electricity going through and laser beams, and it looks like a little earthquake and all types of things going on.
Yeah. So after you defeat Frieza, there's a little excerpt at the end. Some text. At that point, I'm like, all right, I'm done with this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, as the game went on, like, it did grow on me. I ended up playing twice. But man, the first time in the beginning, I'm just like, oh gosh, this is so terrible. Like, I really wanted to stop playing it after like 10 or 15 minutes, but I didn't want to let you down. So I just kept going through it.
I legitimately thought you were going to enjoy this game. I thought it was going to be an episode where you were defending the game and I was just bashing it, but I was wrong.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, doing something that you don't like at the expense of me being able to do something you thought I would like. That's a true friendship, really, right there.
No problem, bro. The only thing I did after I'd beat the game was I loaded up the game again. In the beginning, if you let the opening cutscene play before the title screen of the game, when the Eternal Dragon appears, you input a cheat code, almost like you're making a wish to the Eternal Dragon.
Right.
And then you basically become invincible. So I loaded up the Goku and Frieza fight, and I just let him wail on me for like a long time.
Yeah.
And then when I became a Super Saiyan, it was just, that's how it should have been. Frieza could not even compete at Goku's level at that point.
Right.
But that's the legacy of Goku, dude. My overall thoughts is, yes, I do have some, I don't know, I guess I would say some bias with the game slightly because it is something I grew up with. I received it for my birthday around the time it came out. I sort of liked the game when I was younger. I can admit it's not a good game at all, and I don't think anybody who's not a fan of Dragon Ball should stay away from this game. People who do like Dragon Ball, I still wouldn't even recommend the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like I said, it grew on me. It's an okay game if like you're just trying to do something, you have a few minutes, and like it's like a no stress, like very simple game where like, all right, I'm just kind of doing something. But yeah, it's really not challenging. We talked about a lot of the things that we didn't like, and I have plenty of issues. But yeah, I mean, for me as well, like because I knew the series, that's what made this somewhat enjoyable for me.
If you enjoyed this episode of Modeseven, give it a like and comment below your thoughts on today's topic. Please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell to be notified when the next Sergmanx video drops. Have a good day and peace out.